Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Spiritual Infinity. And as you know, my name is Zenzi Sewa, and I'm here in London. And my guest today is Susanne Arens, and she is in Colorado Springs. And I have to say thank you to Susanne because there is a time difference of 7 hours. I said night, it's actually because it's gone 3 o'clock in the afternoon here in London, and in Colorado it's gone 8 o'clock in the morning. So that's 7 hours difference. So I say thank you to Susanne for getting up so early and joining me on my program today. Susanne, welcome.
Thank you for having me on your show.
No, thank you for being here. As you know, Spiritual Infinity is about our spiritual journey, our journey of connection. What caused our connection to our spirituality? When did it start? Because there's so many of us all over the world at this time who are awakening, who are feeling certain things, and we're not sure whether are we mad? Are we enough? Sometimes we're made to feel not good enough, not loved, and there is a feeling inside. And I'm saying to everybody who's feeling that you are loved, you are good enough, and you're not mad. And there's a lot of us, but it's a process. It's a journey, and it's a journey to your spirituality. And my guest today is going to talk about her journey. So hopefully you can connect and then feel more empowered. So Susanne, over to you.
Well, thank you again for having me on. Yeah, having abilities has nothing to do with your IQ. It can have to do with hereditary. A lot of times it is passed down by generation and generation. For me, I was a little bit different as a kid, and I never understood why. I had a very simple upbringing out in the country. We only had 3 TV stations, and 2 of them were snowy. We had to have a whole lot of tinfoil wrapped on top of the bunny ears to get them in. But so that we didn't talk about spirituality or have shows about ghosts and things like that, not that they had in big towns. So I didn't understand kind of what was happening. I just had really intense deja vu moments. Sometimes it'd be so intense, I would literally get nauseous, not realizing that those are actually true premonitions I was having. And as I got older, they got stronger. And the real big catalyst for me is when our first daughter passed away. I'm Catholic. I have a deep, deep faith with God, but I got to be honest, I was mad. I was angry. There's so many children being starved and beaten in the world, and why would you take my beautiful child from me? And so that started me down this rabbit hole of reading and watching videos and shows and everything about it. And then I started to realize, holy Toledo, what they're talking about, that's just been happening to me for a while. And so that's kind of the big catalyst on how I discovered what I was. When I give clients readings, as being an evidential psychic medium, that means I have all of the clairs. So not only do I'm a sensitive and an empath, but being a medium with all the clairs, I hear, smell, feel, taste, that type of thing. So I work with police and different law enforcement agencies around the world on active and cold cases because I have that level of sensitivity. But what it does for me in a reading with a client is I will give clients readings and I'll be able to actually see what their gifts might be. As an example, I was given a gala reading and it was a psychic life reading. So I'm in her energy field and I kept noticing like shoots of lights, like spark plugs coming out the end of her fingers. And finally I stopped the reading. I said, I just have to tell you, I've been watching like energy spark off the end of your fingers. I said, you have healing hands. Like you should be doing Reiki. And then that's when she told me, oh my goodness, yeah, I've heard that before. So I actually got certified in Reiki 1, 2, and 3, but it didn't really feel like it was resonating with me. So I went back into corporate life. So maybe later in life, she'll feel like she wants to embrace that gift. But a lot of people have things going on that they suspect might be happening, but until someone like myself literally pinpoints it and says, this is what I'm seeing in your energy field. Do you understand this? And then they're going to go, yeah, I don't talk about that. I thought maybe I was crazy, like this wasn't happening. And I'm like, honey, it is happening. It is you. You don't have to embrace your abilities. Some people don't want that gift. They don't want to see the deceased like I do. I mean, they don't want to have that. But other people, everybody's a little intuitive. and
Yeah.
insensitive, and if, like, especially moms, how many mothers out there have known that their child was sick, taking them to the doctor's like, no, they're fine, and you bring them home, and it really manifests into an ear infection or a severe cold or sinus infection. We have that, not that dads can't, but moms in particular, having the child come from us, even if you adopted, you just form this tight bond, with your child, that you just know things, right? And we dismiss it like the doctors know what they're talking about. And that's actually what cost me the life of my daughter. I knew, before I even knew I was a medium, I knew she wasn't breathing right. I knew something was wrong. I took her to the head of pediatrics at the hospital here in town. I begged him. I said, she's not breathing right. I have a horrible feeling. And he said, you're overreacting. You're a first-time mom. Long story short, I can talk about it now without coming unhinged, but she died the very next morning at the daycare from pneumonia. The autopsy proved she had pneumonia, so I was right. So this is where, you gotta listen to your gut instincts. Like, how many people have been driving home from work, and then they got the idea, I'm going to take this exit instead, and I'm going to go home. And then you turn on the news and you realize there's a big accident or pileup or some kind of delay on your normal path. That's people's intuitive abilities, and it doesn't make you crazy. However, back in the day, it was different. Like, I believe I get my gifts from my mother, and I believe they came from her mother. I mean, my grandmother, I was, a teenager or so when she had passed, but she had gotten electric shock treatments on her brain. And I think it was because she had gifts and they didn't understand it. So they figured there was something wrong with her.
So
I could be wrong, but
no, you're right, because that used to happen back in the day when they thought you were mad, you're this, and you got all these different treatments because you're hallucinating. It's a this, that, and it's not. We now understand it. But let's go back. When did you start to, because you said things happened when you were a child?
Yeah.
So what was happening when you were a child?
The first memory I have is I had a vision of me. It was at a school event, at a track and field event. And I had this vision that I'd be running and doing a relay in this kind of event, even though it was just a school. It was just it was a PE class, right? I don't even know if they have those anymore, but a personal exercising class. And I just thought I was just dreaming until I found myself in that exact moment, holding the baton in my hand then it hit me that, it was so real. And I can just remember having this urge to like start dry heaving. It was just overwhelming. And that's one of the big clues, is when I have sometimes we have thoughts and daydreams and whatnot, they're nothing. But for me, I've learned, because I get electrical change in my body, when I feel like a panic attack or electrical change in my body, this all of a sudden level of intensity, then I know, oh my goodness, I'm having a premonition. I need to really pay attention, take notes. One of the other one is I'm a country girl, as I mentioned, and there was kids across the road from us out in the country. They were roughly the same age. And so we always did this May Day tradition. I don't know if you guys have that, where you make a little May Day basket, you put candy in it, and you go to the neighbor's house and you knock on the door, ring the doorbell, and then you got to race home before they catch you. And if they catch you, they can grab you and kiss you, right? Give you a kiss on the cheek. So it's just really sweet, innocent little thing, but you ran for your lives, And I had remembered it was May Day, and I was in bed that night laying there. So it was so strange. But that's how come I remember the day. So because I'm laying there and I felt something or heard something coming down the steps to the basement where my bedroom was. And I'm laying there going, oh, I wonder who's coming, because they're coming slowly. And then my bedroom downstairs had no outside window. So it was very, very dark, very, very dark. But I'm laying in bed and I held my breath, because now I knew they had entered the bedroom. So I'm laying there kind of mortified in fear, and I can't hold my breath very long, but I do distinctly remember I did not take a breath. I did not breathe, because I was intensely listening. And I'm laying on my bed, with the arms out and your legs out, not together, but out. And I remember feeling a push down on the end of the bed, because I had a water bed, push down on the end of the water bed and slowly release. And then push down between my knees and slowly release. I just remember going, oh, you know what I mean? In my mind, not making a noise. And then nothing. That was it. And I thought, And I remember my mind just racing, going, what's happening? What's happening? What was that? And the only thing, the only thing I can remember was I thought maybe May Day, one of the kids across the road was coming over to, do the May Day kind of thing. But it was in the evening, like, I don't even remember, not terribly late, maybe 7, 8 o'clock. So I don't know. I still to this day don't know what that was, but I distinctly remember I was not dreaming. So, but nowadays it doesn't surprise me. I have the gift of, I'm a professional spirit communicator and photographer. And I actually, I don't know if y'all can see this, but I have documented thousands and thousands of amazing pictures and videos of the spirit world. They're around all of us all the time. And I've even caught angels in my bedroom more than once, twice in 1 week. And so I put it all out on my social media. People can look and make their own mind up. So
let me stop you there. When you've caught angels in your bedroom, tell us about that, please.
So I meditate daily, sometimes multiple times a day. And, we always ask everybody has angels and guides.
Yes.
And we usually get, my understanding is we usually get assigned an angel and guide at birth, but then different ones come in and out of our lives at different times based on what our particular need might be. Well, I'm always praying and thanking them. I always give a tremendous amount of gratitude every day for my angels and guide and for God's and Jesus. I mean, I hope not to offend any of your listeners, but I believe in God and heaven. And so anyways, sometimes, I ask for them to come while I'm talking to them, but they don't always do that. And so sometimes it's the cameras we have even in our house and outside our house that will capture the entities. In fact, that's what actually set me down this path of capturing the evidence. Is I was, when you're not awake, but you're not asleep. You're in that zone, kind of like when you're waking up in the morning, even you're laying there and you're kind of out of it, but you're kind of in it. So I'm falling asleep.
Between realities, yes.
That's right. Yeah. And that's the realm that is easiest for spirit to communicate with you, because you're not consciously having your own thoughts, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of let go of today's world and not thinking about how many things you got to get done on your checklist. So I'm laying in bed and I'm starting to fall asleep. And I remember floating backwards, slowly back in like the darkness. It was gray. I wasn't scared. And I knew there was entities on each side of me. And I was just floating back. And all of a sudden my husband comes bounding into the bedroom and goes, oh my God, look what just set off the security camera. Because we have it all around our house. And there's this unique kind of round energy field right outside our bedroom window, which was literally about 2-3 feet from my head. And that's what was happening. The angelic being, entity, whatever you would like to call it, I was literally being transported with them. And when he come bounding in, I can just remember going, back into reality. You're floating back, your mind's back there. I felt like my eyes were rolling from the back of my head forward again.
Didn't you feel like, why did you have to come in then?
I know. I'm like, why could you let that finish?
I was enjoying that.
Well, I wasn't in fear. It was just very, very peaceful, and the entities on both sides of me. So that started me down the journey going, wait a minute, how long has this been going on? And we've just not been paying attention to it, because you can easily capture insects and bugs and dust and a whole lot of anomalies. So you have to be very discerning about what's real and what. I talk about that in the back of my book. I even give instructions on how people can capture the evidence themselves.
Yeah. No, it's I understand what you're saying, because especially when it comes to have like premonitions, things when I was young, I dreamt ahead of time, and I knew it was real because my mother was a dressmaker and she had a cupboard full of fabrics. And dressmakers do, they go out shopping and they see lovely I used to do it, and you buy this lovely fabric and you put it down because something's going to happen that you're going to need because when you want something, you never see what you want. As women, even shoes, you want a particular, you never, and when you don't want it, that's when you see it. So I got used to doing that. So my mother had this cupboard full of beautiful fabrics, and I dreamt of this time when I was in our sitting room, the light was there, this dress I was wearing, and this dress an aunt was wearing, and this car and everything. And when it actually happened, my mother had made that dress like that week, but I had the dream like months before. So there was no reason why this dress was hanging up in the wardrobe, and I imagined it. No, the fabric was there, and the exact style, everything. So when it happened, the exact style, the exact material, what I was wearing, the lighting, my uncle who I hadn't seen for ages, my other aunt coming out of this car, everything, and it was like deja vu. You just go, and it's not the first time things like that have happened. When it's happened months before, sometime a year before, and then it's happened. So I understand what you're saying.
I think that's wonderful. And I think it's great when people can recognize it.
Yeah.
You know, too many people are told that you're different, you're odd, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Yes, there are a lot of things that there is mental illness, there is a lot of different things going out there. But when you feel it soulfully,
Yeah.
you know, then journal it, write it down, and then you might notice a pattern. And then when it happens, note down, like when you start documenting or journaling, I had this thought, or I had this feeling, or I had this knowing, write down the date and time. And then when it manifests, it could be hours later, days, weeks, months, then write down. And you might see a pattern that 30 days before or 1 week before or whatever might be going on that this happens. But also I would say, you know, make sure that you're noting your spirituality, right? I mean, we are connecting to the ether. Some people call it the Akashic records. I don't call it that. We are energy. Our soul lives on forever. Einstein said, you know, that energy can't be destroyed, only transferred. We come from energy. Tesla proved the earth has energy in it. He put the copper rods and run wires, and then was shortly thereafter killed. You know? And so we know earth has energy. We know there's energy in the atmosphere. Yeah, you can't see microwaves or radio waves, but they're there. You know, I'm connecting into that energy field. We all vibrate on frequencies, right? Slightly different frequencies. I vibrate on a higher frequency, which allows me to see into the spirit world and communicate with them. But learning how to meditate, right? Get out of your own way, right? And just let what comes into you. If you're like me and you have what James Van Praagh calls a monkey brain, you know, where you're going 100 miles per hour, right?
I've got that.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because I've seen other studies on this too, and I have a bit of ADHD. I didn't know that growing up, of course, but there's nothing wrong with us. That actually makes us more powerful psychics and mediums, because when everything's coming in at me, you know, sounds and feelings and all this kind of stuff, your mind has to process very, very quickly to try to analyze and put all that stuff together. But James Van Praagh said, and can I give your listeners a tip? You know, James Van Praagh, he's a very, very famous older guy, and he's got a lot of books out. He's been on a lot of different shows, very famous medium, and he's gay. And, you know, back in, what was it, the 90s, they all came out of the closet. Remember the saying that they're coming out of the closet? So he said to me, he goes, this is going to sound really funny coming from me. He says, but I'm actually going to tell you to go into the closet and close the door. He says, and basically what he's saying is to go into a room where there's no sight, no sound, no smells, kind of like a deprivation tank, right? So if you can't get that, put blindfolds on, put earplugs in, don't make sure that nothing's really strong, because you don't want to have any of your senses firing, right? And then you start practicing your breathing. Breathe in slowly to the count of 5 and exhale slowly to the count of 6. And you just keep doing this. And every time you exhale, relax the tension in your shoulder, relax your hips, relax everything. And as you start to relax, if you're sitting in a chair, you will feel as though you are absorbed into that chair. If you sit on the floor, you will literally feel like you've now just concreted yourself to the floor. Yeah. And then just focus on your breathing, focus on nothing, right? But if you were like me, I'm like, oh crap, did I change the washing machine load and put it in the dryer? If you have these floating thoughts, just acknowledge it and go, oh, yeah, okay, and let it go. Just acknowledge it and let it go. If you keep obsessing to try to remember, it's futile. Just acknowledge and let it go, and then go right back to your breathing again and center yourself. And it took me just a couple of days of doing it 3 to 5 times a day until I finally had mastered getting out of my own way, right? Yeah. And that's the biggest kick on if you want to connect to your soul self and your soul energy, or to the beyond, or to your guides, or to your loved ones. You really can't have your own thoughts. Let just things come into you. And when they come in, take a pen and paper in there with you, and just quickly jot down. Don't give it any thought. Let your hand do the writing. That I got this idea, you know, and don't go in great depth. Just kind of jot down some key words. to help you to remember afterwards. The minute you start engaging your brain into thinking and analyzing what's happening, you're blowing the deal, right? The way I connect is, and people always ask me, how do you connect? How does that work? I literally cannot have a thought in my head. That's where I don't, when I give readings for clients, I don't want you to tell me anything ahead of time. I don't research anything ahead of time, because then I can't trust what comes in. If I were to look you up online and seeing you wearing a cowboy hat or whatnot, I'm going to have That's right. The same thing when I work on cases with families and police. Just give me the name at first, roughly the name. That's all I want. And then I'll make the connection. Then I'll say, I have this person. This is what they look like. I'll get more details. Now send me the photo. I really, those of us that are real, we don't want to be front loaded. Is what it is.
Thank you. We don't want those imprints there, because then you're not sure whether you're picking up.
Exactly.
You are picking up, or are you just taking what you know and then taking information from what you know and giving it out? Yeah,
exactly.
I understand you, because that's with me as well. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't want to know. I'll ask you a question, and if it's not fitting, then I want to ask, why is it not fitting? Because I know so. No. Then I'll search to see why it's not fit. Is there something to do? I don't want to know. I don't need them.
No, because we'll have preconceived ideas, we'll have notions. And then if somebody comes in and gives me a piece of information from the spirit world, I can't trust it then, because they just told me that dad worked with horses and was a cowboy, the kind of deal. I'm like, crap, now I don't know if I manifested that thought in my head because you said too much, right? So,
Susanne, you talked about your childhood. What about like late teens, in the 20s? What happened around that time in your life?
Yeah, a lot of different things. I knew the moment my father had passed. I was caravanning with my sister and her husband. They were in the vehicle in front of us, and it was dark out. And I had a built-in phone from Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, MAD, I had put in for work. But we're in the middle of Nebraska, so nothing worked. And I can remember driving down the interstate, and because I got a knowing from my dad, I'm sorry, Susie, we're not going to be able to go fishing tomorrow. And I love you. And I immediately knew that he was gone. And we were racing back home because my father did have brain cancer, and we knew he didn't have long to live. But we for sure thought we were going to make it in time. And the doctor said, 6 to 9 months. And I don't even think he lived more than 6 weeks. But so anyways, I was flashing my headlights at my sister and her husband's vehicle, and they pulled over, and I jumped out and I ran up to him. I said, Dad's gone, Dad's gone. And of course, that wasn't well received, because, you're making shit up. Why'd you stop us? And sure enough, by the time we pulled in the yard, I think it was around 2-3 o'clock in the morning, the farmyard was full of vehicles, and I knew I didn't even want to get out of the car. I just sat there and cried, because it validated I was right.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a lot of those kind of things happening. I at work, I would know when something was done in another room, and I'm like, hey, Jennifer, can you go check on that? I believe the plate making machine's done. No, I just put it in. I said, no, I think it's done. And they'd walk in there, and it was, and then she'd come out and go, how the heck did you just know that? So, but that was, again, before I embraced my abilities, before I actually knew what I was and knew what my abilities were, right? You can easily dismiss those gifts.
Yeah, you do. So when did you embrace them, and what was the significant thing that made you embrace those gifts?
The catalyst, again, was the loss of my daughter. But several years ago, I started to sit in some classes, right? And took in some classes that were out of England, actually, and they were done by Zoom. And I can remember, I think it was the first day of first class, and there was 12 of us in the group, and I had no idea. Again, this wasn't something I was raised with, so I knew who Sylvia Brown was and things, and James Van Praagh, but other than that. So we're sitting there, and the first thing the gal says is, okay, I'm going to assign everybody to a different person. Now I want you to feel into them. Now this is through Zoom, like what we're doing. I want you to feel into them, and then tell me something about them that you see. Just tell anything about that person. And of course, panic struck me, going, what? Like, what? What are you talking about? But I thought, well, okay, just do what she said to do. And I was paired with this gal, Sarah, and I just closed my eyes, and I tried to envision me stepping into her energy field. And all of a sudden I seen redwood forest trees, like in California. I seen horses and a picket fence and all this stuff, right? And so it was my turn to go. And fortunately, I was like one of the last. I'm like, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please don't pick me, because I think I'm making stuff up. And it came to my turn, and she goes, okay, Susanne, what do you have? And I said, oh, well, okay, I seen this and this and this, and it looked like redwood forest. I described everything I was getting, and it was like 4 or 5 things. And she looked at Sarah and she goes, well, is any of that correct? And she goes, all of it. All of it's correct. And I went, what? I mean, and I still think lucky guesses, right? Totally lucky guesses. And as we sat in class, I realized, and these were psychic exercises. And I thought, oh, okay, well, then I realized I could do that. But before that even started, I should share with everybody this. I learned to meditate, right? And so I was laying in bed and I was trying to meditate, and I knew that we had angels and guides, right? So I'm asking for one of my angels or guides to come forward, and this gal stepped forward, and she kind of looked like a young Audrey Hepburn, right? Beautiful gal. And she had I could see her from waist up, but she had a cute little, like a brick reddish brown clutch under her arm. And I asked her what her name was, and she said her name was Sabrina. But again, I think I'm making stuff up, right? I'm a very creative person. I run an ad agency. So I think that I'm just letting my imagination run. So I hired a very popular, expensive person to give me a reading. And as soon as we came on, she looked at me and she goes, oh, my guides are telling me I'm supposed to be working with you. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go. She's going to try to scam me out of money, right? And I said, well, what are they saying? And she goes, I said, well, how much is this going to cost? And she goes, oh, no, they're telling me I'm working with you for free, that you're very gifted and that I need to help wake you up. And I'm thinking, okay, then what's in it for her, right? If she's going to do it for free, what's in it for her? Because I think she's trying to scam me, right? Mm-hmm. So anyways, I said to her, I said, well, I did do this meditation, and I met somebody. I said, I understand we have like angels and guides. And she goes, oh, yes, everybody does. And I just said, well, I've met a gal, and can you sense who that might have been? Oh, I know, I met an angel. Can you sense who that is? What's his name? I said, what's his name? To trick her, right? Because I'm still not sure this is real. And she goes, oh, it's not a guy. It's a gal. I said, oh. I said, well, what does she look like? And well, short brown hair, lighter skin tone, very pretty gal, daintier features. And I said, and this is what young Audrey Hepburn looked like. And that's what Sabrina looked like. And I said, did she give you a name? And she goes, yeah, it's like S.A. something, but not Sarah. It's like a S.A. There's an N, something like a Sabrina. I said, like a Sabrina. She goes, oh, yeah, that's it, Sabrina. So here this woman validated everything that Sabrina had shown and told me. So then I thought, oh, wow, I actually was. So that's what reinforced and gave me a little bit of confidence. But it wasn't until I was sitting in a class for mediumship, again, through the internet, Zoom, and I sat there for weeks, right? We met, I think, 2 or 3 times a week, and I never said anything. I just was observing, and I was so impressed with these people that were getting bits and pieces. And so at the beginning of every class, she would start out, okay, we're going to go into a 5 or 10 minute meditation. I can't remember anymore. It's been a while, but, and then see if you can ask somebody to step forward for you and communicate with you, and then raise your hand if you have somebody. So we got done doing the meditation. I popped up my little hand on the monitor there, and she goes, yes, Susanne, did you have a question? She goes, oh my gosh, you have somebody. And I'm thinking, well, I've got a guy here. He says his name is Larry. And I see a barn and I smell manure, but this is horse manure, not cattle manure. And he's got horses, and there's a truck out front with a bucket. And I was rattling on all this stuff, right? She goes, stop. And I said, what? She goes, just hold tight. And she went to everybody group and said, is there anybody in this group that can take anything she just said? And this gal raised her hand and she goes, yeah, she has my grandfather, and his name was Larry, and he raised horses, and he lived on the farm, and he had a clothesline. Everything I said, she confirmed 100%. It was like, I don't know, 10, 11 pieces of information. That's when I went, holy crap. I've been talking to him and seeing him this whole time, but I blew it off because I had different expectations on what that experience was going to be like. right? You watch in movies and they're just supposed to manifest in front of you, and they're supposed to give you information like a billboard, right? So I had all these preconceived ideas. When I finally just let go and put my wall down, put my guard down, and just let the information flow, then I realized that, yeah, that was me all along.
Gosh. And so, fast forward. Now that you've come through and you've recognized what your gifts are, and you've been doing different programs and different things to help strengthen yourself, to give yourself confidence, where are you at now today?
Well, I'm a professional evidential psychic medium. So I have a business, Crystal Peak Medium. The website's crystalpeakmedium.com, and basically all my social media handles are the same. So I share a lot of information I get, and I do videos and information about. I have a book out that kind of talks about my journey, which I have found a lot of people can relate to. I talk about the various gifts that we can have, whether you're an intuitive or sensitive or empathic, and how to capture that evidence yourself. So I give readings. I give psychic life readings, mediumship readings, past life readings. I find that past life readings are way different than what I thought they were going to be, as far as the benefit to people's lives when they discover one of their previous lives. And I know some of your listeners might think, oh, she's making this up. This can't be, or she's doing the work of the devil. That's all nonsense. We are energy. We have had lots of reincarnations. In fact, you don't even have to believe me. Look up a show that was called The Ghost Inside My Child. And I think there's 3 seasons, and I think it's not on TV live anymore, but you can watch it, I think, on Amazon Prime or Netflix. And these are all children that remember their past lives. So when we come back incarnate into this lifetime, children will remember. They're like, I like living here. I love you, mommy, but can I go live with my other mommy now? They remember their other lifetimes. And so watch the show, because almost in every story, there was one parent that thought this went against their religion and it's bull crap, and they're not going to have this nonsense in their home, only to find out that, yeah, wow, there's a whole lot I've learned. I was raised Catholic, but I have to be honest, there's been a whole lot that I've learned that wasn't taught in Sunday school. We don't talk about it in church. That really is true. It's absolutely true. And because I will have spirit come from the other side and give me information. And, some people think I'm doing the work of the devil, but I would have everybody go into like AI, right? Type in AI, the similarities between Moses and a medium. I think you're going to be freaking shocked when it comes back. Put in there the relationship and the similarities between a prophet and a psychic. Again, it's going to blow your socks off, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to realize all of us, I think, are children of God. And we all have this divine cord in. And a lot of times when I'm giving people readings, I can literally see this angelic cord running through them. It's almost like a beam of light being shown on them. We all have it, but some people turn their back on God, which is really sad. I hope before they pass that they find him. But I will tell you, if you want a kick in the pants, you can go online, and I share a bunch of them on my TikTok channel as well. But look up NDEs, near-death
experiences. Yes,
and look up the ones from atheists. I love the ones from atheists, because when they die, guess where they go? And when they come back, guess how they spend the rest of their life? Teaching the preachings of God and Jesus. And so it's just so beautiful that, and it happens with me too. A family member will drag somebody to a reading that's an atheist. They never leave an atheist. They never leave an atheist. So that's the beautiful thing, is if I can, that's the book, is There Is No Death. Spirit actually gave me the name of the book. There is no death. Evidence of the spirit world, spirits and orbs. Our souls live up. Well, like this energy, we manifest ourselves in energy. It's who we are.
Now, I just said something, but before we close down, there's still some time. You also seen orbs.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Orbs are the easiest. I don't really photograph orbs much anymore. Well, unless if they're in front of me as I'm filming, I will. But I can capture actually amazing, very unique and distinctive shapes of spirit and entities. And so this is I become an expert at it, and I share a lot of that in my book. And so other people can start to recognize them. So a lot of times I'll give a person a reading and I'll say, they're around you. Go back and look at some of your photographs. Do you ever see this round orb or color or something in your photos? If you do, let me know. And they'll often text me or email or call me going, oh my gosh, yes. And they'll send it to me to look at. A lot of people will dismiss it like that was just dust. And sometimes it is. But a lot of times it's actually your loved ones coming for the family photo.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to say. What are orbs? Because some people might say, what are orbs? What are orbs? And you just said they are our spiritual guides or entities who come in the energy form of round, sometimes big, different shapes. And that's how they present themselves, as colorful orbs around us.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. A couple nights ago, I was going to bed and I had the camera up running, and the cat jumped up the end of the bed and a spirit came with it and flew off. And it was one of our other cats because it was time to go to bed. So one of our other kitties that used to sleep with, all of our cats to sleep with, it was time for bed. So they came to bed with them. But I can capture and communicate a lot with ones. In fact, the prettiest one I ever captured was a victim of a plane crash. And I knew I'd been talking to her. So after I got done communicating with her, I took out my camera and took a couple photos. But this was in my phone, and it was, a little image this big, and I couldn't really see much. And a couple of days later, Spirit told me, go back and look at your photos. I'm like, really? I've already done that. Because some were street lights, all this stuff. You got to dismiss all that, right? Until I zoomed into the corner of one of my photos. Let me see if I can show it to you for your, look at her.
Oh, yes.
To this day, she is still the prettiest spirit I have ever captured on camera. Very, very beautiful. So they're around. You just have to be open to receive it. If you're going to say this, you're going to be a Debbie Downer. This is not true. This isn't happening. If you're going to be one of those dismissive people, you're not going to have that experience, that encounter. You have to be open to it, and just, you can be skeptical. Skepticism is great. And just say, I have my doubts, but I'm open to receive. I'm open to have an experience. But I do want to warn people and make sure that you do what I call, and Matt Frazier, you might know him, he's a very famous medium, a white light protection prayer of some sort. And it's pretty basic. It just kind of goes, as you're opening up meditation, I always say a prayer to God and Jesus and my angels and guides, but I always ask them to protect me. Only allow entities of light and love to surround me, my family, my clients, my friends. I banish any negative entity to the darkness. I do not allow them to enter.
Thank you so much for saying that. There's something I was going to ask you to bring out, because we're all energy. Everything around is energy. There is no such thing as death. And I keep on saying that. We just change form. Just as you go onto the moon and we can't go like this, we need to put on a special suit because the atmosphere in the moon, we have to breathe. So we're here on Earth. We don't come just as our energy. We need this body called flesh. And then when this body no longer serves us, or we wear it out, or it's our time, we let it go. And our energy, our spirit, our soul, whatever you want, leaves. It's no longer restricted, and it goes about its business. And it's not just here on Earth. The galaxy is full of them, because we're not the only people in this. See, there are many worlds, and even when they say there can't be life on Mars and there can't be life, no, there can't be life the way we think of it. So mankind is not so intelligent that it knows everything.
Oh my God, I love you. Yes, exactly. You think we're the smartest thing God ever created? Come on. In certain islands in the world, they're still killing each other and eat each other's brains because they think they'll absorb the knowledge of their ancestors. Come on, people. It's got to be quite an ego for someone to think that we're the smartest, brightest thing that God created. We're actually really young in the scale of it. In fact, if I may be so bold to share this with your listeners, like we were saying, we're energy, right? And when we vibrate at different frequencies, I've come to the understanding that older souls that have had a lot of lifetimes, a lot of experiences, we kind of start to ascend and we start to vibrate at higher frequencies. That's what allows me to connect through the veil, right? You can meet dark people, dark, even evil people, and you just feel that negative, dark energy, and they are vibrating at a much lower frequency, right? You can feel that. People can sense that if they'll allow themselves to, right? Well, now you got to think about some of these ETs, aliens, whatever you want to call them. They could be millions of years more advanced than us. And as I'm ascending and vibrating at a higher frequency, they get to the point where they might not even need a body anymore because they vibrate on such a high frequency. And that's where they come across looking different and in these energetic forms that people are capturing on their pictures and in their videos. They don't need the flesh anymore. They've evolved into just pure energy.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, as I was saying, there are those who haven't evolved and they're at a low energy. That's the negative, dark ones. And there are those of us who have evolved and we're evolving, and we're the lighter energy. You know, this is what we're here for. And it's down to us. So, yes, when you're meditating and when you're doing your breath work, do say what Susanne has said. You know, you're calling on Christ, you're calling on the Creator, whatever, yes, you are, whatever, but you're calling on the light force always to surround you, to protect you, because that is what you want to work with and come through you. You don't want the dark side. And sometimes, if you're not sure, you can ask 3 times, are you of the light? Are you of the light? And if you ask that and it's not, it will go. So
you attract what you push out. Yeah, you attract what you push out. That's what you're saying, correct? Your thoughts is what attracts to you. So if you are thinking and attracting positive light of love, that's what you're going to get. If you're obsessing over the dark, negative stuff, unfortunately, that's what you're going to attract. You know, likeness attracts each other.
Yeah. And as you say, it is there. The darkness is there. And we have to be careful what we do, because some of the things that we do, we think it's right, it's not. It's actually open up portals for the darkness to enter in.
Like spirit boards. It's not that the boards themselves are evil, but they, for some bizarre reason, they work. But you cannot control what comes in. They can pretend to be your daughter, your grandmother, whatever, but it's not. And here's the thing, once the genie's out of the bottle, you're not going to get that thing back in. And so please, 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 if you want to have those experiences, do not use that. Learn your meditation. And I will tell you, when you know you're connecting to spirit, you will feel a shift in your body. For me, it's an energy. It's if you've ever used like a TENS device on a muscle or something, you hook up these electrodes and it vibrates, you know, this energy through your muscle and stuff. To me, that's what it feels like. It goes through my whole body, but you might feel it in your calves, your feet, your legs, your hands. You will feel an energy shift. But again, you say, I only allow entities of light and love to be with me. I banish and ask for your spirits and guides and your angels. Do not allow anything that is not a pure love and light to surround me. And they won't. They won't.
And the more you use it, the more you do, you will know how it communicates with you, how you connect with it. You will feel it. I feel it in certain ways. That's when I know I'm hitting the nail on the head, because certain things happen to me. And I say, I'm doing a reading. Listen. And somebody's talking, I go, shh, because it's coming through. Shh. You know, and it's shh, and then it goes.
Well, sometimes the information will come in so fast to me, and I'll think I'll remember it because it's so obvious, but they're throwing so much at me. I'm like, flipping A. Now I just forgot the first thing you said. Do it again. And so I have to write it down because I'm like, because energy spirits, they talk very, very, they vibe. So, you know, here we are, mediums here. Spirit has to lower theirs. I have to raise my frequency for us to lock in, right? We have to meet in the middle. That's what we are. Mediums are middlemen. And sometimes they can talk and share and flash so many images and show so quickly that I'm like, slow that down. I only got like a third of it.
Oh, Susanne, it's been wonderful speaking to you. Before we say goodbye, can you leave us with a nugget or two of advice for the viewers that will, you know, going along their paths that will help them?
Yeah, it's, you have to take time out of every day. The first thing in the morning, set your alarm clock for an extra 5 or 10 minutes in the morning and sit there quietly. Quiet your mind before everything of the day is going to hit you. Or if you're really feeling stressed and overwhelmed in the middle of your day, do the breathing exercise. Breathe in, but hold it for the count of 5 or 10 seconds, and then exhale slowly, and do that 10 times or for a minute or two to calm your energy. We are energy, and it's very, very easy to watch the news or coworkers or just the stress of the day to really get us vibrating at unhealthy frequencies. Calm yourself, right? Do it over your lunchtime, or go to your car if you have to sit by yourself quietly and listen to meditative music, soft meditative music. At the end of the day, do a little meditation. And for me, meditation always includes prayer. I start every meditation session with prayer. And so to me, I think that helps calm the energy and helps me make that spiritual connection. I think people will find a huge shift in their life if they can do that, because I truly believe we are right now, there's a tremendous battle of good and evil going on in the world.
Yes.
And I truly believe that more and more people are waking up, and they're maybe not understanding why they feel differently, but things will resonate with you. The problem is so much of what you're being told in mainstream news and things are all lies. They
Yes.
really are. It's
Thank
just that
you.
you've gotten comfortable to listen. You've got comfortable with the lies. So now when someone tries to tell you the truth or show you the truth, you're so opposed to it because you've become comfortable with the lie. You got to really do some soul searching and figure out what really makes sense and what's really good for, if all you listen to is negativity, unfortunately, you are going to feel it and it will become your life.
Yeah. Susanne, thank you so much for saying that, because especially when you say you listen to the news and you think it's all true, it's not. It's there to program you, so you are programmed into that thought. So Susanne said, when you're hearing something else, just, oh, no, who said this one said that, this one, it's lies. It's lies. It's lies, and it's coming from the top echelons. We're there to be programmed. We need to remember we're spiritual beings with a physical body having a human experience. If you want the truth, do your meditation, do your breathing, connect, call on the Creator, call on Yeshua, Jesus, whatever name you want them, because it's light. We give those names for its light. And when you lock into that, you're then starting to connect and starting to clean out, and you'll start to think differently, open up and see things differently.
Oh my gosh, I adore you. You are just so wise. That is so true. You are an amazing, amazing person. I am so glad we make this connection.
We're going to keep in contact. So everybody today, thank you all for listening. And it's been a lovely program, because here we're talking with mediumships, and I know sometimes it is said it's not good, but hey, when you look at people in the Bible, people in the past, it was those abilities that they awakened, because we all have them, but we're not using them in the proper way. It is those abilities they actually open up to be used in the proper way that they can see, hear, and do. So it's about us developing all the gifts that we are created within us, that creators built us with. And Man of Science says our brain, we only use something like 5% of our brain. Could you imagine if you use 20 and 30? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You then start to see the beings we're meant to be, because we are, but we're not using them. But that's a talk for another time. So for now, Susanne, thank you so much. All my visitors, my guests, thank you so much. Bye for now from London. Bye, everyone.
Bye from Colorado.
Bye-bye.